the sound of your rich, euphonous voice.
Yes, I've got my new microphone. Do you want to see it?
Absolutely. We might as well get it out of the way now. I was waiting for it to come up.
Okay. This is, what is it? It's a Blueyeti X. So I'll sort of lift it up, raise the depths. There you go, Toby.
What?
Look at that.
It's like something from the BBC in 1933.
Well, the beginning. We're back for episode 2 of Coffee and Counsel, backed by moderately popular demand, discussing life as a lawyer in lockdown. We've got Toby, Shada, Charles, and me, all barristers at Trinity. We're down a person today, Alice, here in spirit though, and continuing without her. And we're chatting about video conferencing etiquette and how to improve. The first topic, of course, being Charles's silky smooth, melodic voice coming from his microphone. I suppose the first question for us is, does it really matter, Toby? Does it really affect how we convey ourselves if we have a better microphone?
Yes, undoubtedly. Charles has said to us previously that what matters ultimately is that people can hear what you say and how you say it. Eye contact obviously is very important, things like that. But at the end of the day, advocacy is principally the asking of questions, the answering of questions, the advancing of arguments. And if you can ensure that what you are saying is captured by those you're saying it to, the best it can be, then you're achieving your best goal.
We did a case last week where we actually had an interpreter present. So the court had dialed in the prison. So the defendant was on a video link into court and was then speaking through the video link, which was linked to the clerk's computer. So everybody else could hear through Skype, and then the interpreter had dialed in also. And I know there was quite a few issues being able to hear and translate clearly.
Voice.
So I think that
we can make these our tips, our rules. If we make this number 1, we need to ensure our mic is adequate. And Charles, you say video is less important than sound.
Yes, well, I don't say it, but I watched a video where someone who knows more about it than me said it, and I think he must be right. You know, in civil, we've been doing telephone hearings, for instance, for years, and it's perfectly possible to persuade somebody of the strength of your argument without them seeing you. But I think if they can't hear you, you're toast. Or if they can't hear you properly, it just makes it hard work for the tribunal, and you know, our job is about making things easy for the tribunal. It's a lot easy to persuade somebody to agree with you if you're not, you know, shoving spokes in their wheels and nails under their tires.
Keeps popping up is where should you be video conferencing from? Any thoughts, Charles?
Well, I mean, it obviously depends on what you've got available and who is in it. I would imagine for courts, we're going to be told that you've got to have a virtual neutral background, and no doubt we'll all be racing to get our snazzy Chambers logos on them and things like that. But you know, it's just what you've got and making the best of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to see Toby's study and raise him a library. All right, closely linked to that has to be appearance. What we're all wearing.
I'm in a linen suit today. I've dressed down for you, Matthew.
You were specifically told no suits.
Yeah, so that, I think that meant no business suits.
At the moment, it seems there is a relaxation of the rules, although I keep seeing reports, particularly from America, of lawyers wearing what they want to court.
I can't believe a judge hearing an English case particularly with the involvement of the parties, or a party in a case, would allow you to be on a link if you weren't wearing what you would call a formal business suit of some description.
I mean, from my experience, the criminal courts, everybody is still wearing via the video links with no robes, which is quite interesting to me to see judges without their robes. And, you know, who has hair, who doesn't have hair is quite...
Well, yeah, hair is going to be the big issue. The longer this carries on,
yeah.
There's for men, there's maybe
I think for women too.
There's a fork in the road as to which way you go. You know, Shaggy or Geordie. It's going to be a difficult decision, and I think it's for me coming quite soon.
Or if you let somebody else who isn't trained get some clippers on your hair.
Well, I can't. I'm not allowed. No one's allowed to come within 2 meters of me. So it's got to be self-administered.
We can make this another tip, rule, whatever you want to call it, standard. I think dressing properly is far easier than getting a decent haircut during lockdown.
Yeah.
We also, on the issue of appearance, that's something else that keeps cropping up, is closeness to the camera. People who have the camera as close to their cheeks, nose, eyes as can possibly be imagined. I think we're all
doing well, aren't we? We've got it nailed today, I think. Though I say it myself, pats on the back all round.
I think I've been struggling quite a lot with actual lighting. Like, I've got 3 windows in my office, so 1 minute it's really dark and then it's really light. So I've been moving into all different positions around my office just to try and get something that's what I think appropriate lighting. So I think you don't want to be too dark, you don't want the light to glare through and be distracting. I mean, maybe I'm just getting a little bit too conscious about it, but I've been quite
shining your glasses.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's right that you're thinking about this. I mean, I've been changing all my light bulbs to 100 watts and sticking the central light on and blocking out the sunlight, because if there's too much sunlight coming in, it just makes everything in the house really dark.
Shada, you don't know enough about Charles, because this is all a sham. Charles doesn't live alone. There's a complete crew in that flat with him. There's a man with a great big boom with a microphone dangling over him. There are 2 people with cameras on either side, and then tracking. There are big lighting rigs being set up.
Something that's come up in a number of court cases is people are not looking at the camera. People have adopted the 2-screen rule, video on one, papers on another, and they're staring at the papers instead of the cameras. They're looking over here. Now, one thing that I was certainly always told as a pupil at Trinity was watch the judge's pen. You have to be watching what the judge is doing. And I've noticed people aren't doing that anymore. People are not looking at the judge or whomever they're in a meeting with.
He or she are not going to be happy if you just have your eyes glued somewhere else and ignoring what they are doing, what any other participant that they can see or have the capability of seeing doing. I think it's absolutely vital. Yes, you would have notes as you would in court, and if the notes take the form of another screen that you're looking at, you'll look to it. But in court, if you just stood in front of the judge looking down the whole time, never engaging with him or anybody else, you'd soon be told about it.
The judges have also been very understanding with the current circumstances. I think it's been a couple of occasions that somebody's dogs have started barking at the postman. So they've had to mute themselves quite quickly. Or just little hiccups, technical hiccups. But But a lot of hearings are starting with judges asking to confirm an appropriate place where they won't be disturbed and that everybody can hear and see each other adequately to commence the proceedings. And if there is any technical issues, normally the link's closed down and a new one is opened up. So it seems to be a lot of understanding and working together.
This could be standard number 3 of not having a close-up of your face, looking up your nose or from above, and sub-rule being look at the right screen. The next subject, being Charles's favourite, is etiquette. And I'm going to ask a question about etiquette. I'm just going to ask Holland on etiquette to take over. Forget Debrett's, which I'm sure Toby has on his shelf behind him. We have Holland's modern manners.
I feel you placed a heavy burden on my shoulders there, but as you know, Matthew, we've been having a lot of video meetings, and maybe too many. Maybe some of them could have been dealt with by email. But can we just talk about sandwiches? People who think it's appropriate to wait. They've obviously prepared this sandwich, but to actually wait to the beginning of the meeting and then wait till the point when they have to contribute, and this ridiculous BAP emerges on the screen and is or stottie, I should say, and then sort of consumed with the food flying at the camera. What are you thinking? What? The camera pointing right at your mouth. So I would say no sandwiches. But it's, I mean, I don't want to be a dictator. I think it's just more.
Oh, you do.
Well, a little bit. It's more that we're working from home. We're not homing from home, and I know it's very difficult. But trying to get a boundary, and it's the same thing with the suits. Is just trying to step away from the domestic situation, even though you are physically in a domestic situation, and be professional is kind of basic courtesy to everybody else. But eating sandwiches, having a meeting on your mobile and walking into the pantry to actually make that kind of stuff. It should be stamped out, I think.
Aside your recent experience of people making sandwiches, it extends broader, I think, to that. Because there's a lot of people I see using their phones, quite visibly have their phones on camera playing with it, which I would never do if I was in front of a judge, playing with the phone. And I wouldn't do it on most professional conferences. I wouldn't get my phone out. But people seem comfortable doing it from home. It seems to me that Charles strikes the right tone. You are not homing from home, you're working from home. And you shouldn't do anything that you wouldn't do if you weren't face to face.
Shouldn't the rule of thumb be that if you're in a remote court hearing, you don't do anything that you wouldn't do in a court? If you're in a consultation or a conference with a solicitor or a solicitor and client, you don't do anything you wouldn't do if you're having the conference in a room in chambers. And so you would often have a coffee with a client. You might even, if you're one of the privileged few, you might even be allowed a biscuit. But you certainly wouldn't start getting up and making a sandwich and then eating it in front of a solicitor or a client.
I can see those black bullets behind you, Toby. I hope you haven't been eating those.
It's getting... There's only about 3 left.
That's all we have time for on this episode. There's just enough time left, I think, to compare our coffee cups.
There we go. H for Hedworth. What is cats? Very good.
All right, everyone. We'll reconvene again next week for hopefully a 3rd episode if we're commissioned again and nothing goes horribly wrong with this episode. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.